that's the only pole on the other side of the South Pole. I think it's quite stunning. It should be an area as big as that unexplored.
Hi, how are you? Welcome to my channel, World History Official. In this video, I would like to discuss about the Antarctica. Not one person has the absolute right to claim their complete flat earth theory is the correct one, and that all else is confusion. But by working together, individually studying, debating, being open, and creating tangible pieces of work, we can figure it out together. Before I started, remember to subscribe and hit the bell icon on my channel if you enjoy. And also, share this information to your family, your friends, and everyone. So, here we go! No midnight sun in the Antarctic. There is some quack who says that the Antarctic has a midnight sun, and he has a video to prove it. As flat earthers, we know that the Antarctic has no midnight sun, but if a person believes in the globe Earth, he would not know this, and believe that the video is true. Then, there are other differences between the North Pole and South Pole, and that is covered below. The difference is, because the Antarctic does not get the sun, that the center part of the Earth, what others call the Northern Hemisphere. About the video what was show about the midnight sun in the Antarctic, it's very easy to take a video, taken of the North Pole and say in the narration, South Pole. In other words, you are completely at the mercy of the narrator or the editor, as the case may be. Thomas Winship said, if the Earth be a globe, at midnight, the eye would have to penetrate thousands of miles of land and water, even at 65 degrees north latitude, in order to see the sun at midnight. That the sun can be seen for days together in the far north during the northern summer, proves that there is something very seriously wrong with the globular hypothesis. Besides this, how is it that the midnight sun is never seen in the south during the southern summer? Cook penetrated as far south as 71 degrees, Weddell in 1893 reached as far as 74 degrees, and Sir James C. Ross in 1841 and 1842 reached the 78th parallel, but I am not aware that any of these navigators have left it on record that the sun was seen at midnight in the south. Heliocentrists also cannot explain why the midnight sun phenomenon is not experienced anywhere in the southern hemisphere at any time of year. Quite to the contrary, it has been recorded by the Royal Belgian Geographical Society in Expedition Antarctique Belgique that during the most severe part of the Antarctic winter, from 71 degrees south latitude onwards, the sun sets on May 17th and is not seen above the horizon again until July 21st. This is completely at odds with the full Earth theory, but easily explained by the flat Earth model. The midnight sun is seen from high altitudes, in extreme northern latitudes during Arctic summer, because the sun, at its innermost cycle, is circling tightly enough around the polar center that it remains visible above the horizon for someone at such a vantage point. Likewise, in extreme southern latitudes during Arctic summer, the sun completely disappears from view for over 2 months, because there at the northern tropic, at the innermost arc of its boomerang journey, the sun is circling the northern center, too tightly to be seen from the southern circumference. Dr. Samuel Robotham on his book said, it is evident that in the great encircling oceans of the south, and the numerous islands and parts of continents, which exist beyond that part of the earth, where the sun is vertical, cannot have their days and nights, seasons, etc., precisely like those in the northern region. The north is a center, and the south is that center. radiated or thrown out to a vast oceanic circumference, terminating in circular walls of ice, which form an impenetrable frozen barrier. Hence the phenomena, referred to as existing in the north, must be considerably modified in the south. For instance, the north being central, the light of the sun advancing and receding, gives long periods of alternate light and darkness at the actual center. But in the far south, the sun, even when moving in its outer path, can only throw its light to a certain distance, beyond which there must be perpetual darkness. No evidence exists of there being long periods of light and darkness regularly alternating, as in the north. In the north, in summertime, when the sun is moving in its inner path, the light shines continually for months together over the central region, and rapidly develops numerous forms of animal and vegetable life. Iyashini said, the supposition that the seasons are caused by the Earth's annual motion around the sun, at a mean distance of 92,500,000 miles, is grotesque. According to Piazzi, the size of the sun is in proportion to the Earth, as 329,360 to 1. The diameter exceeds that of the Earth 112 times. The Earth appears, as Bide says, by this statement, a mere grain of sand, as compared to the sun. This enormous expanse of light, focused on a rotating grain of sand, at the distance of 93 millions of miles, would cause the same season throughout it. The paltry few miles, in comparison, that separates London from Cape Town, could never cause diverse seasons, neither would the distance from London to the Riviera justify the difference in the climate that characterizes the two places. Gabriel Henriette on his book said, the theory of the rotation of the Earth may once and for all be definitely disposed of as impracticable, by pointing out the following inadvertence. It is said that the rotation takes 24 hours, and that its speed is uniform, in which case, necessarily, days and nights should have an identical duration of 12 hours each all the year round. The sun should invariably rise in the morning, and set in the evening at the same hours, with the result that it would be the equinox every day, from the 1st of January to the 31st of December. One should stop and reflect on this, before saying that the Earth has a movement of rotation. How does the system of gravitation account for the seasonal variations in the length of days and nights, if the Earth rotates at a uniform speed in 24 hours? Dr. Samuel Robotham said, another thing is certain, that from within the equator, the North Pole Star, and the constellations Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, and many others, can be seen from every meridian simultaneously. Whereas in the south, from the equator, neither the so-called South Pole Star, nor the remarkable constellation of the Southern Cross, can be seen simultaneously from every meridian, showing that all the constellations of the South Pole Star included, sweep over a great southern arc and across the meridian, from their rise in the evening, to their setting in the morning. But if the Earth is a globe, Sigma Octantis, a South Pole Star, and the Southern Cross, a southern circumpolar constellation, they would all be visible at the same time from every longitude on the same latitude, as is the case with the Northern Pole Star and the northern circumpolar constellations. Such, however, is not the case. They also had to add a wobble to the tilt, to try and make their makeshift seasons model work. Unfortunately for them, you can prove in your backyard, the Earth does not wobble, or rotate around the sun for that matter, by keeping track of the meridian lines or times of stars, and seeing that they do not accordingly change throughout the year, due to Earth's supposed wobbling and spinning around the sun. Samuel Robotham on his book said, take two carefully bored metallic tubes, not less than 6 feet in length, and place them 1 yard asunder, on the opposite sides of a wooden frame, or a solid block of wood or stone, so adjust them, that their centers or axes of vision, shall be perfectly parallel to each other. Now, direct them to the plane of some notable fixed star, a few seconds previous to its meridian time. Let an observer be stationed at each tube, and the moment the star appears in the first tube, let a loud knock or other signal be given, to be repeated by the observer at the second tube when he first sees the same star. A distinct period of time will elapse between the signals given. The signals will follow each other in very rapid succession, but still, the time between is sufficient to show that the same star is not visible at the same moment by two parallel lines of sight when only 1 yard asunder. A slight inclination of the second tube towards the first tube would be required for the star to be seen through both tubes at the same instant. Let the tubes remain in their position for 6 months, at the end of which time, the same observation or experiment will produce the same results. The star will be visible at the same meridian time, without the slightest alteration being required in the direction of the tubes, from which it is concluded that if the Earth had moved 1 single yard in an orbit through space, there would at least be observed the slight inclination of the tube, which the difference in position of 1 yard had previously required. But as no such difference in the direction of the tube is required, the conclusion is unavoidable that in 6 months a given meridian upon the Earth's surface does not move a single yard, and therefore, that the Earth has not the slightest degree of orbital motion. Another thing to consider is that the amount of vegetation that goes in the far north, such as Canada, is more than what is grown in equal latitude south of the equator. The reason being is that the north gets more sun in their summertime than what the south gets in its summertime. Another proof that the southern hemisphere does not get as much sun as the northern hemisphere. I should use Eric Dubé's wording, I think he coined it, and call it hemisflat.
That's beyond the quake stunning. If the ship be an area of figures at unexplored.